dropsy. Does anyone know what dropsy is? Disease. It's a skin disease. It's a swelling of the skin. It kind of is underneath it. It's kind of a painful and really kind of impossible to cure. It looks like a liver failure disease or something like that. I'm not a doctor, but that's what it had online. Jesus asks a bold question to the people gathered at this party. There was a bunch of scribes and Pharisees at this party, and teachers of the law, and they were watching him carefully. What does that mean? They were watching him carefully? What's going on here? Maybe they were watching for him to do something that they didn't approve of. It's possible. So he asked them, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day or not? He knows what they're thinking. No, of course it's not. But they stay silent. They don't argue with him. So what does Jesus do? He heals the man anyway and sends him on his way. And he justifies it by saying, which one of you, if you had a son in need, would not go out of your way to help him, even if it was on the Sabbath day? And again, the church remains silent. They don't want to get into it with him. They disagree with Jesus, but they don't want to discuss it openly. So Jesus pushes the envelope a little bit. There's been a back and forth with the Pharisees and the teachers of the law about this Sabbath day issue. This has kind of happened in the Gospels a couple of times. Earlier in the Gospels, it talks about this. Remember the man with the withered hand? When they were picking grain on the Sabbath, and there was this man with the withered hand, and they're like, oh, how could you do this? And look at your disciples, and you're just a mess, right? And the man with the withered hand is so ironic because this is a guy who can't work, ever. He just begs. And Jesus heals him. Now he can work and be productive 6 days a week and actually observe the Sabbath. This whole thing. This guy was in a very hellish situation. Jesus saved him. The Sabbath was a big deal. And this whole concept, it doesn't really resonate with us. Because we don't really respect the Sabbath in the same way as they did 2,000 years ago. We're not as strict about the Sabbath. So we don't relate as much. But we have our own pet peeves as a church, don't we? Our own restrictions that exclude some people but not others. We pick and choose in a different way. Can we be insensitive to our neighbors' struggles because it's not something that we struggle with? We've talked about this in the hallways. I know that happens a lot in a church. We were talking during the worship committee meeting and the other week, and we were asking, is our church worship service open to the public? Sounds like a crazy question to ask. Of course it is, right? I hope we are. I think we are. We were talking about this in our service. Are we accessible and open to the public to come off the street and worship with us and participate and have access to everything that we do? We thought, yeah, I hope so. Maybe there are some parts of the service that are closed to just us. And the worship team was thinking, wait a minute. Maybe we need to think about Are we open to the public or not? And the answer we said was yes. And all of a sudden, Luke 14 pops up right in the lectionary and addresses the very issue about Jesus versus this very exclusive and closed church. Jesus is challenging the church. You know, he's speaking to the church because this is the only church there is, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law. This is the established church. And he says, hey, church, who do you really care about? Is church just about all of you? Or is the stranger, a visitor off the street? They have a priority. Do you focus on them? Do you love them the same? Are they just as important as your long-time attenders and big givers? Or is the church a social club of just us? There are plenty of churches out there who care just about themselves. They don't put much into the outsider. You can see that from the website. And people who come in here off the street sit anywhere they want. That's always a good test. If someone you don't know comes off the street and sits in your favorite sacred spots, are you going to respond in a negative way? Does it bother you? Or do you say, yippee, look, a new person. I not only get to meet them, I get to introduce them to all my church friends. Is that what you think? Someone sat in the back row, Ty? Is he okay with it? Like, this is my section. Do we greet them and treat them like they're family members who have come from out of town? In the passage this morning, Jesus tells the Pharisees, the established church, the people at the party, a parable. He says, there are those invited to a wedding feast. Some sit at the place of honor. And when more distinguished guests arrive, the original group is forced to move down to a lower status of seating. Jesus says, when you are invited, sit at the lowest place. That way, when the host comes out to get you, they'll tell you to move up. Why is Jesus telling us this? What does this have to do with healing? Why did he shift gears? He's at the same party. He's saying this parable to this group. Why is he doing it? We were talking about healing on the Sabbath, and now we're playing musical chairs at a wedding. Why? He's speaking about the same subject. It's related. Jesus is telling the church, be humble. Don't act like you have it all together. You don't. Don't pretend that you are at some higher doctrinal status. When you stand before the Lord, you are going to be shocked. I have Christian friends who are convinced that certain people who profess to be Christian aren't really Christian because of their doctrinal differences. I know. It's not the greatest thing. It kind of hurts my heart. It makes me sad. They say, well, if you don't believe this or that, well, you're not Christian. And I'm thinking, how smart do you have to be Christian? Your kids don't even believe all the stuff you're talking about. Are you saying that they're not a part of your church? What is Jesus saying to the church at this gathering? Hey, church, God is saving new people every day. God is drawing new people to himself through the power of the gospel. Where are you in this story? Are you an ally? Are you participating in this movement? Or are you a roadblock? Those are great questions that churches should ask themselves all the time. Is what we are doing helping or hurting the advancement of the gospel? Because Jesus is working in the world right now, with or without us. He's inviting us weekly through his word, through the gospel, to come and join him on his mission. Now, we could be a social club of people that we're comfortable with and people that we're used to. And that can be fun and enjoyable. I'm not going to lie. It can be very fun and enjoyable. We can also be a user-friendly church that focuses our attention on people who we have not met yet, who are unfamiliar with us. We could make it very easy for people to come in off the street and make a connection here. And now you're going to ask, how does that happen? What should we do? I knew you were going to ask that question. By asking one very important question. What's it like to be new here? What's it like to walk into this group for the first time, not knowing anybody? What's it like to come in off the street and sit down in here? Do people want to know my name? Do they care about my life? Do they care about my faith journey and my questions and what I'm going through right now? What if I don't believe what this church believes? Do they still want me here? What's it like to be new at St. James Lutheran Church? Well, I can tell you, being here for 2 years, there's a couple that says something to me on a regular basis, and it's very inspiring. They come here almost every Sunday, and they say, "We are so glad you're here." This is like 2 years in to my timing. We're so glad you're here. And I'm going to tell you that I'm glad I'm here. I love this place. And there's been a few days sprinkled over the 2 years where I haven't been glad I'm here. But I love hearing this because it reminds me, oh yeah, that's right. I am glad I'm here. I love this place. It's so inspiring to hear that. And I'm glad about it. I want new people to experience St. James like that. Don't you? I want people to come in off the street and experience the real hospitality that's here. The love that's here. I think that is what God is calling us to do in this passage. So we have our marching orders from the gospel. Let's do it. Amen?